The hospital room carried the sterile scent of antiseptic, mingled faintly with the fading fragrance of plastic flowers. 8-year-old Lily Jacobs lay beneath thin, starchy sheets, her skin pale, her spirit still somehow luminous. Beside her, a weathered stuffed bunny rested, one ear torn and loved nearly to pieces. Her mother, Rachel, sat close, brushing curls from Lily's forehead while machines hummed softly in rhythm. For almost 2 years, Lily had battled leukemia with fierce resolve. Now, the treatments had stopped. What remained was precious, fleeting time. A social worker leaned in gently, whispering beside Rachel's shoulder. Lily's lips parted into a small smile as Rachel nodded, a little tremble in her voice. Her daughter had made a wish, a curious one. She wanted to meet Donald Trump. Not because of politics, Rachel explained, but because Lily saw something in him, strength, boldness, someone who didn't quit. Just like her. It was an impossible request. Trump was still president, and they were just a modest Ohio family trying to make ends meet. But Lily's eyes had glowed when she spoke of him, and Rachel had promised she'd try. That night, Rachel posted to an online support group, a simple plea written with more hope than expectation. Somewhere in Florida, that message landed in front of a retired Marine, Staff Sergeant Ray Dawson. He paused, rereading the post. The girl's photo struck something deep. She reminded him of his niece. Ray had once guarded Trump during a Veterans Day event and remembered the man's firm handshake, and more than that, a promise made quietly but clearly, if a vet ever needs a hand, you come to me. Ray had never used that favor. Maybe it hadn't been meant for him. He picked up the phone and called a contact who still worked logistics for presidential events. The voice on the other end hesitated. It wasn't easy to reach the president. But the story hit different. For a child's last wish, the voice murmured. I'll try. And so, within hours, the message traveled upward, eventually reaching a desk in a private wing of Trump Tower. It didn't get lost in red tape, it was read aloud. Donald Trump listened quietly, a cup of coffee in hand. When it ended, he said only, "Where's this little girl now?" Rachel was folding laundry at the Ronald McDonald House when her phone rang. A strange number blinked across the screen. She almost didn't answer. The voice on the line was formal, clipped. Then it changed. Warm. Familiar. "Rachel, this is Donald Trump. I just read about Lily." She couldn't speak. Her heart raced. "She's a brave, beautiful girl," he said. "I want to come see her. No cameras. Just me. For Lily." Rachel, tears in her eyes, whispered a thank you. Trump replied, "Tell her she's got a meeting scheduled, with someone who believes in her too." Later, she sat beside her daughter's hospital bed, gathering the words. Lily listened with quiet excitement. "He's really coming?" she asked. Rachel nodded. Lily smiled and lifted her bunny. "Then I better brush Bunny's ears. He's going to want to look nice." 3 days later, the streets around the children's hospital stirred with low-key activity. A small motorcade arrived, black SUVs and a tight Secret Service presence. No press. No crowds. Inside, in a quiet hallway near the pediatric wing, Donald Trump stepped out of an elevator wearing a dark suit and red tie. Nurses paused, startled. Rachel stood by the door, heart pounding. Trump knocked gently and entered Lily's room. She looked up from her pillow, eyes wide. Her bunny in her arms. "You really came," she said softly. He smiled and took a seat beside her bed. "I wouldn't miss it." They spoke not of politics, but of dreams, Lily's plan to become a pilot, the books she loved, her fight through everything. From his jacket, Trump pulled out a small golden pin, a miniature eagle. "A veteran gave this to me," he said. "I want you to have it." Lily held it like treasure. "Thank you, Mr. Trump." He touched her hand gently. "No, Lily. Thank you, for reminding me what courage really looks like. The visit lasted nearly an hour. No photos. No press. No speeches. Just a promise honored, and a quiet moment that would stay with everyone who witnessed it. There were no photos. Even the hospital staff respected his quiet request for privacy. For that hour, Lily told Trump her dream, to fly in a red plane, high above the clouds, waving at the world below. "I want to be brave in the sky," she said softly. Trump listened without interruption, nodding, holding her hand the entire time. When the visit drew to a close, he leaned in and whispered something in Lily's ear. Whatever it was, only she heard it. Lily gave a small nod, then smiled. Trump stood, gave Rachel a long, firm hug. "She's got the spirit of a fighter," Rachel said, tears slipping down her cheeks. Trump replied, "And she gave me something too." As he walked out, hospital staff whispered among themselves, not about a politician, but about a man changed by a little girl. What he had whispered remained a mystery. Not even Rachel knew. At least, not yet. That night, Lily held the golden eagle pin close against her chest. She murmured something to her bunny. "He said I'd fly." Rachel, sitting nearby, smiled gently and kissed her daughter's forehead. "Maybe in your dreams, sweetheart." But Lily shook her head, eyes wide and sure. "No," she said softly. "He said I really would." Rachel's heart twisted. The doctors had warned them, days, maybe weeks were left. But somewhere far from that hospital room, the wheels had already begun to turn. Trump had left the visit deeply moved. The next morning, he picked up the phone and dialed an old contact, someone he once honored at a military ceremony. "I need a red plane," he said. "And someone who can handle precious cargo." The man on the other end, a retired Air Force pilot, paused only a second. "Tell me when and where." Trump smiled. It was already underway. Back in Ohio, Rachel received an unexpected call from the hospital administrator. There had been an unusual request. Lily was to be taken for a short flight in a red biplane. Everything had been arranged: medical supervision, transportation, even the airfield. The source? President Trump. Rachel's tears fell freely. He hadn't been making a gesture. He had meant every word. 2 days later, a gleaming red biplane touched down at a private strip under the Ohio sun. The wings shimmered like rubies. Through the night, doctors and nurses worked to prepare Lily for the flight. She was frail, but her spirit buzzed like the engine waiting outside. A veteran had sent a tiny pilot's cap just her size. As the sun rose, Commander Lane, the silver-haired pilot, knelt beside her. "Ready to fly, Captain?" Lily grinned. "Yes, ma'am." They lifted her gently into the front cockpit, her bunny nestled in her lap. Commander Lane climbed in behind and gave a quiet thumbs up. Rachel stood at the edge of the tarmac, her hands trembling, her eyes shining with a mixture of joy and fear. The biplane's engine growled to life. And then it soared. Lily was in the sky. She laughed. She waved. She was brave in the sky, just as she'd dreamed. For 15 brilliant minutes, Lily was more than a child in a hospital gown. She was a pilot, free, fearless, and flying like the eagle she held close to her chest. After that flight, her strength faded quickly, but she was radiant. Rachel stayed by her side as the night came. Lily smiled again and whispered, "He meant it." Rachel, wiping her eyes, finally asked, "What did he say to you that day?" Lily's eyes sparkled with something beyond her years. "He said if he could make just one dream come true, then my courage would help him change the world. He said I'd be remembered." Rachel wept, brushing back a curl. "And you will be." The next morning, Lily slipped into sleep and didn't wake up. But her story didn't end there. A few days later, Rachel found an envelope on her doorstep. It bore the presidential seal. Inside was a handwritten note. "Dear Rachel," it began. "Lily changed my life. In just 1 hour, she reminded me of what truly matters. Her courage, her laughter, her dreams, they've stayed with me. I've made a decision in her honor. Please read the enclosed plan. Donald J. Trump." Attached was a detailed outline. A national initiative called Lily's Wings, a scholarship and dream fulfillment fund for terminally ill children, offering them one unforgettable experience before saying goodbye. It was backed by Trump's personal pledge and a call to action for businesses to join. Rachel shared the letter online, her hands shaking. It spread like wildfire. Within hours, the story captured the hearts of millions. People didn't debate politics, they saw a little girl in a red plane and felt something shift. Families with sick children reached out. Volunteers offered planes, concerts, trips to the beach, even virtual spacewalks. In a brief and humble press appearance, Trump spoke just once. "This isn't about me. It's about a little girl who flew higher than all of us. Let's make that flight possible for others." Rachel was flooded with letters. From families. From teachers. Even from inmates who said Lily's story had changed them. Her daughter's wish had become something vast, real, and growing. But there was one more surprise. One more moment no one saw coming. A month after Lily's passing, Trump appeared at a charity gala for veterans. Expectations were high, a policy speech, some tribute to service. Instead, he walked onto the stage holding a single framed photo. It was Lily, smiling in her pilot's cap. He stood silently for 10 full seconds. Then he said, "I was going to talk about policy. But instead, I want to tell you about one little girl." For 5 minutes, he spoke, not as a president, but as a man profoundly moved. He told them about a promise, a red plane, and a whisper that would echo across the country. "If you ever feel like one life can't change anything," Trump said, "think of Lily. Because she changed me." The room stood in silence. Veterans wiped tears. Billionaires clapped slowly. That night, an anonymous donor contributed $1 million to a newly formed fund. Days later, Trump signed an executive order launching the Lily Initiative, a federal partnership with volunteer organizations to fulfill final wishes for terminally ill children whose families couldn't afford them. It passed with rare bipartisan support. Washington was stunned. All because of one little girl. Weeks later, Rachel received another call, this time from the president's office. "He'd like you to attend a private event in Washington," the voice said. "He wants to honor Lily personally." Rachel hesitated. She wasn't used to attention, let alone ceremonies. But something inside told her this was part of what Lily had set in motion. When she arrived, she was welcomed like family. In the White House Rose Garden, under the quiet bloom of summer, Trump unveiled a plaque that read, "Lily Jacobs, she flew higher than fear." Beneath it, "In honor of a brave girl who reminded us that courage needs no age, and dreams need no limits." Rachel broke down. Trump handed her the plaque. "She didn't just meet a president," he said. "She changed one." Back home, Lily's school held a memorial assembly. Rachel stood before rows of children, wrapped in the scarf Lily had once adored. She told the story, the red plane, the whisper, the promise kept. Children cried. Teachers cried. One student stood and said, "I want to help someone like Lily." Others rose beside her. They formed the Lily's Wings Club. Their mission, raise money to give another child a dream. The movement wasn't fading, it was growing. From classrooms to courthouses, people didn't just remember Lily. They began to live like her. Commander Lane, the retired Air Force pilot who had flown Lily, appeared on national television. "I've flown presidents, generals, diplomats," she said, voice steady. "But flying Lily, that was the most important mission of my life." She described how Lily giggled every time the plane tilted. She felt weightless, Lane smiled. And somehow, she made me feel weightless too. Her words reached millions. Soon, veteran pilots across the country offered free dream flights. One wrote, "I never got the parade I was promised after Vietnam. But flying a child like Lily? That's all the honor I'll ever need." Elon Musk tweeted about Lily's story. "She didn't launch a rocket," he wrote, "but she launched something bigger, hope." Then he pledged to match donations to the Lily's Wings Fund, up to $10 million. Let's give more kids their sky. Contributions poured in. Within a week, the fund had enough to grant 1,000 final wishes. Trump responded with a simple statement, "We didn't plan this. Lily did. She just needed a few adults to catch up." One morning, Rachel received a small, secure package from the White House. Inside, preserved behind glass, was Lily's bunny, cleaned, cared for, and displayed beside a handwritten note. "He flew with her," it read. "I think he deserves a place of honor. Donald J. Trump." Rachel placed the bunny on Lily's old bookshelf. Somehow, the room felt more full, not less. Neighbors would visit just to sit there quietly. Her room became a kind of shrine, not of mourning, but of memory. Proof that a short life could echo louder than years. A national documentary followed, Lily's Wings, the girl who taught the nation to fly. It featured footage of the red plane, interviews with Commander Lane, with Rachel, and with Trump himself. It ended with one quiet line from him, "I've stood at the top of towers and walked the halls of power, but Lily Jacobs, she flew higher than all of us." The screen faded to a red plane rising into a golden sky. Millions watched. Millions cried. Parents held their children closer. Soon after, Congress introduced a bill to establish Lily Jacobs Day, a national day to honor terminally ill children and the small dreams that carry great meaning. It passed with overwhelming support. On the first Lily Jacobs Day, schools held fly-high assemblies. Children wore red. Some launched balloons. Others threw paper planes. One school printed a banner, "If Lily can fly, so can we." At the private airfield where she once flew, a bench was placed facing the sky. A plaque read, "Sit. Dream. Look up." One quiet afternoon, Rachel visited. She sat alone, watching a single plane rise into the clouds. A family arrived, strangers. Their child had cancer too. They had come for a dream flight, funded by Lily's Wings. The mother recognized Rachel. They didn't need to speak. A silent hug passed between them. And in that moment, two mothers carried the weight of wings together. On what would have been Lily's 9th birthday, Trump visited her hometown, quietly. No press. No speech. He walked to the bench alone, looked to the sky, and whispered the words he'd once said in that hospital room, "You'll be remembered, Lily." Then he stood, saluted the horizon, and walked away. As he did, the sun caught the wing of a red plane rising in the distance, its light spreading across the field. And somewhere, in the hearts of thousands who had heard her story, Lily flew again.